Lorraine, we can come back and answer more questions in a few minutes. Go ahead, please, Eva. Go ahead, Eva, please.
Hi, my name is Eva Boston. I'm from 425 Main Street. I also coordinate the Roosevelt and Parents Network. I have two questions about the future of the GMT program in this school. We have noticed that it was reduced basically from 2 classes to 1 class. So maybe you can tell us a little bit why and how this gets decided for the future years. And also, I think right now it goes through 5th grade here in this school. Are there any plans to extend the GMT program for longer period of time, like higher grades? I think that would help to have more families in the school.
Yeah, so the issue in terms of program planning and changing a single class, or 2 classes to a single class really has to do with just the operational sustainability for the school. I think, Mandana, we had 2 very small classes when it initially, 1 year at least. And what that means is, with not full classes, you do need a teacher, and for the school that's something where you'd like to plan for a single full class, or, you know, when all things are working together, 2 full classes. So we made the decision to go down from 2 classes to 1, just to make that something that could be sustainable and make sense in all the ways that you would think it would make sense in terms of funding and staffing. You know, I know that there's no reason why we wouldn't want 2 full classes, but it is something that, you know, just parents' behavior is difficult to predict whether, even if we were to make 50 offers, how many people would ultimately come at the end of the day when it comes to the fall of the new year. So that's something that, you know, Mandana and I will work together to be flexible about and try to figure out what makes sense year to year. And it changes a little bit year to year. So we don't want a situation where, you know, there are those 2 very small classes again. As far as middle school GMT, there actually is no citywide definition of middle school GMT. So there isn't a process for admission like the one I'm speaking about tonight. Typically, we've seen this be something that superintendents create a culture around in their districts. So I encourage you to reach out to your superintendent to just address your concerns about what that means for a child who has been in GMT from K to 5 and now is articulating into a middle school. Because it can look differently. Different districts sort of manage that process differently. So I hope that answers your question.
So let's take 2 more questions about admissions. Then I'd like to give some time for Mandana and her team about the curriculum. Then hopefully we'll have some more time left over to answer any more general questions that might have risen during it. So if you just take 2 more questions.
Yeah, and I'm happy to be available. My colleague Allison will be here too. If we don't get a chance to do this, you can catch me on the side.
Yeah. So you had mentioned that 97% is the cutoff for the citywide GMT program. I'm assuming more than the number of allocated spaces, that more students achieve a score of 97% or higher than there are actually allocations. So since there's no geographic priority given to those particular placements, how are decisions made of which students actually do get a placement?
Sure, yeah, this is a great question. It's really just about the concept of the number of eligible students versus the number of available seats. So across the board, citywide or otherwise, there are far more eligible students than there are seats, and placement for gifted and talented is not guaranteed. So how we make placements for a citywide program works essentially in 2 priority groups. So there are students who have a sibling already at the school and students who do not. So there's those with sibling priority and those who do not. And we make offers according to score. So starting with the 99s, the 98s, and the 97s. And going down in the siblings category, and then 99s who do not have a sibling, 98s without a sibling, and 97s. Within those scores, the order is random. So if there's just more 99s, students who scored a 99, than there are seats, we make offers based on a random algorithm that sorts those applicants. So if you have a child who scored a 99 and they don't have a sibling already in the school, and there's another child who scored a 99 with no sibling at the school, whether one gets the offer or not is at a random lottery. The only difference there for a district program like the one here at PS 217 is there's district priority added into that. So there would be a difference between a family who lived in districts 2 or 30 or a family who lived in another district. So we would prioritize in-district families. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's a bit shocking that that's how you do it.
What about it?
Well, I mean, it's just so what I heard earlier was that if your child scores well and they don't get placed, then they have to take the test again. So you conceivably could have
Up to you if you want that
right,
test
if
again.
you want it. So they could score 99, not get placed because of randomness, and then be required to write the test again if that's what you want.
Not required to retest, and
So if you
essentially, yeah, placement is not guaranteed, and you know, just to give you a sense, we make the most placements in kindergarten because those are to fill empty classes, essentially, with students starting in the program. And the number of offers we make in first, second, and third grade decreases over time because those students are articulating through the program. The class sizes don't go up significantly beyond first grade. A kindergarten class we can fill with 25 students. Class size will go up to 32 in first grade and really maintain through fifth grade there. So the number of second grade and third grade seats we offer are very limited. So this is a sort of a hallmark of the GNT process that I think is really important to understand, is that there are just far more eligible students than there are seats in these programs.
So roughly, how many students are eligible who actually?
So I'll give you a couple sort of declining numbers here just to give you a sense of the process. So about 40,000 students take the test across all grade levels. Of those, we see about 10,000 who are eligible in some way or form, so either district or citywide. And of those, we make about 4,500 offers to families, and again, across grade levels. And then slightly less than that actually take the offer we provide. So that's a very rough cut of sort of how the numbers work throughout the process. But so essentially, if you're thinking about that, about a little less than half of eligible students receive placement.
So one last question, and we're going to have curriculum.
Sorry. What are sort of follow-ups?
Hi, and I live on Roosevelt Island. So functionally speaking, if you are a first-time, no sibling student, what is like the functionally minimal score? I mean, you have to score in the 99th percentile for this school. Like, what are you seeing in the past few years, sort of, in your admitting class? And then my other question is, what is the threshold that this school has, a palette for in terms of class size? Like, obviously you guys have talked a lot about it, so if it's a GNT class, like, how low will you go in the number of students in the class to open a class, both for kindergarten and first grade?
Sure, those are great questions. So one thing that you should know is, the staff at an individual school is not aware of your child's GNT score, and they are not, essentially that information is private to the family. So my office will create the offers and ultimately the wait list that the school can use, but the actual score is not something Mandan is really privy to. So, but right. So our office does work with it, and my answer would really be it's different year to year and different program to program. It has a lot to do with demand. For example, the citywide programs, which are really in an extremely high. I just want to give an anecdote that may help you sort of understand why I'm not giving you an exact answer about this school. But Nest plus M, which has huge demand, hundreds of students applying at each grade level, typically does not ever get beyond the 99s who don't have sibling priority. So they make offers to really all the children who have siblings and do not get out of the group of students who score 99. And that's because of the demand to the program. And I don't believe that demand necessarily indicates quality. It just literally shows how many students apply to that program. It really can depend, and I wouldn't say that there's any hardline rule with the GMT program, especially 217 here. It changes depending on who decides to have their child tested, who applies to the program. It's a relatively new program. You have 5th graders graduating from GMT. Last year was the first year of 5th grade GMT, so there's only 5 years to really look at in terms of a trend there. I would encourage you, if you want, Allison and I can look into it. If you want to email me tomorrow or tonight, be happy to try to see if I can give you some basic information to give you a sense of what to expect.
I just want to piggyback on what he said. It said, generally speaking, since we are down to 1 class each grade level, the program is more competitive because of that. You can go anecdotally about what you hear on the island, but I'll just say it is just anecdotally from what I know of who is on the wait list. The program is more competitive because there is only 1 kindergarten class.
And 25 seats is a U of T contractual maximum for kindergarten, 32 in the upper grades. And I think I can speak for you in saying you would go up to that contractual max. Yeah, so, and there really isn't any leeway beyond that. So just about opening another class for kindergarten, again, this is something where, we are working together to try to make sure there's not a situation where there's those 2 tiny classes and then 2 teachers for 30 kids, and it's 2 classes of 15, where it's just really not sustainable for the program and the school.
I'm so sorry, I'm just trying to, you can't just say, we offered these 25 spots, there's a wait list of 75 people, that surely we could get another 25 on the wait list to open another class. Like, that doesn't work like that? I just don't understand.
In theory, it works like that, but one thing I would encourage all families as they're applying to GMT is only apply to a school if you would really go to that school.
Your experience is with 75 would not go. You wouldn't even get 25 out of that.
Well, we've seen it where it's been really close. And, like I said, a situation where it's 2 classes and it's 30 students across those 2 classes, it depends. So this is the first year where we've put wait lists in the school's hand. That means once a family says, sorry, we're not going to be coming in the fall, the school is able to call that next family. In years past, there's been very long attrition rounds where my office will continually run a long process that took about a month in between when we could make offers. We're only able to do that 3 or 4 times. So we have 1 year of the waitlist being in the school's hand. If it's something that makes sense, I think we want to encourage the program as much as possible. But we do have to consider the staffing and funding for the school as well.
So I think that's a...
Yeah, it's a larger school that has, classes that the GMT program, we just need to be thoughtful about it.
So I think this is a good natural progression to hand it over to Principal Beckman.